how would I know if you did it without AI or with
Mm,
AI, right?
okay.
So you have to sell yourself to some extent. It's the actually the output, not the tool, that is what makes a student stand out.
Hello. So this is KakaComputer podcast where tech meets wit and wisdom. So here today, we're here to ask questions from a tech industry veteran. So we prepared around 15 questions, but I think we have to skim some of here. So
Yes.
our first questions: does your university really matter, or is experience really the better go-getter in your resume?
Right. I think this question is more applicable actually when you're very young. No? As you get older, it doesn't really matter too much anymore. The university, I think, matters or at least has an effect on landing your first job.
Mm.
That's really the effect of it. But after your first job, it now is all about the experience or your actions in the first job, right? So, of course, some universities have partnerships with companies, and so it's easier perhaps to get an internship or your first job. But afterwards, not doesn't matter
Mm.
anymore.
Yeah, I think I do think that's the case in some aspects, that only in your first job is the university really helpful. But in your opinion, does since malaking argument nga siya, is coming from the big four or top university really matter for getting that high experience or high compensating job?
It matters for several reasons. No? Number one is maybe again exposure,
Mm.
maybe the quality of the curriculum. That's one, and one of the things also is if you're coming from a expensive tuition,
Mm.
right? In the back of your mind, you'll always be thinking that, hey, kailangan ko bawiin to or kailangan bawiin namin to,
Yeah.
no? So, and sanay ka siguro sa expense na mas malaki,
Mm.
right? So, when you negotiate for your first job, tendency is you'll always ask for a higher pay, right?
Mm.
So, to that extent, that's the effect if you're coming from, let's say, a big four or a more expensive school is you will settle less,
Mm.
right? Uh-uh.
Okay, next question is certifications versus projects. What would be better to focus at?
So, depending on your goal, no? So, for early practitioners, I would say projects first because number one, you really need exposure to a lot of things, right? So, do a lot of projects, deploy them to the cloud. In other words, put it out. No, not just local projects, put them out. But as you age, you already have quite a lot of projects, and your exposure gets smaller because you are doing now a lot of work within the company. And so, what certificates add, or at least learning for the certificate add, is what you call like exposure or best practices, especially with very industry specific, with industry level certifications, because you'll find out there, oh, in the worldwide scheme, this is how they do it, right? In our company, we do this way, but actually there's a different or better way to do it on a global practice, right? So the certification helps there to establish the learning credentials because you already have quite a lot of projects.
Yeah, from that answer po, can I ask, how does what do you expect for a perfect resume that will impress you as from a fresh graduate po?
A perfect resume. Mahirap yung perfect
Yeah.
resume, no?
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, to be frank, if it's me and I'm the hiring manager, I really don't look at the perfectness of a fresh grad. No?
Mm.
I understand that fresh grads, like I said, less exposure, less ganyan. So what I look for is perhaps indicators of leadership roles. Maybe they have been leads or
Mm.
um, there is a parang gusto nila, may parang self-improvement. Parang gusto nila either, yun nga, they lead or they take extra steps to go beyond what is usual, right? Pero again, I'm fairly fair naman to fresh grads in general, right? As long as, of course, if I'm hiring something for the company, you just have to take note also that ideally, if I'm, let's say, a company that is using more Python, or if I'm a company using PHP or Java, then the resume that I receive ideally is also closer to the position
Related,
of the
yeah.
company, right?
Yeah.
Although, yes, so that the chances or at least lesser training required for the tech stack.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. But yeah, adding up to that, I would want to ask you if what is better on a student's resume, being a student leader or winning a lot of hackathons.
Um, for me, it depends, no? If it's quite a known hackathon, right? There's so many hackathons kasi
Yeah.
out there. Na maybe some are less known than the others, right? I'll treat the hackathon like a project or your thesis.
Yeah.
I will ask you, I'll grill you about it, etc. Right? Um, but and yeah, I'll grill you about it, your participation, how it went, why did you win, etc. So be ready to defend
Yeah.
to my level of if I was the judge, mananalo ba talaga kayo, no?
Yeah.
But yung sa leadership, same. No, I'll ask, what are the projects? What was your role? For me, it's generally equal. The leadership as a student and hackathons as a student.
Yeah, so I do think that the metrics behind those would really matter as well, more than the label of hackathon winner or student leader, since sometimes it's more easier to join an org or start one than lead people. And yeah, you're absolutely right on the what you said of lesser known hackathons that might be easier to win in.
Yeah. Just remember, anything you put in resume, it's a double-edged sword. You must be able to defend that. No? So be ready lang. If you put it there, then you must be ready to be asked about the questions there.
Yeah. So let's tread more on thinner ice and more dangerous questions. So
Dangerous questions, okay?
my question is, how cooked is really the tech job market is?
I think it depends on various levels, right? I think I don't know how cooked that's the term you
Yeah.
used, though. How cooked the entry level is, but based on what I see in the AWS user group and the people that I know as a freshman, it doesn't seem to be as cooked because people get multiple jobs, multiple internship. There seems to be, if you have the necessary skills or show the necessary potential, there seems to be a way to get your first job or first internship. So there's a lot of positions available. Now, in the middle, let's say you've been there for almost a decade, ganyan, that's a little bit harder in a sense because now you've dedicated some portion of your time to mastery of certain tools, right? So not all companies will use those tools. So you'll now have to fine-tune further your the companies that you're looking for to those that you have an experience. And then when you're as old as me, all right, that's also a different ball game because you might now be looking at maybe less local but more global opportunities. So in terms of scope, it's not really cooked per se. There's none so much available, but I think it's about opening yourself to a wider market lang.
Yeah, to add to that, how about in the near future as AI gets more and more clever and very exponential growth, and the saturation of fresh graduates and more competition enter the job market. Is your sentiment the same of being not really cooked enough?
For us, I think the Philippines specifically, I think we're gonna be okay. We're not as an expensive resource out there globally. right? So, if, for example, if you look at, I'm quite excited with this upcoming
Mm.
hero agent that does these backlog and pull request. So, it's basically acting like a full-time,
Mm.
24/7 junior developer, right? But if you look at AI agents, the cost of AI agents running it, let's double check the cost of a Filipino developer too, right? Maybe it will be the same or not, but that tells me that we're not as expensive, which is both good and bad.
Mm.
We will be less impacted on
Mm.
it, and we actually allows us, and I've talked to some more senior developers also, allows us to fast track projects.
Mm.
So more projects out there, maybe we can actually now compete faster on a global market.
Mm.
Maybe we'll have more indie developers or indie game developers or indie dev houses, indie you'd be surprised, there's actually a lot of people that are doing just plugins, companies that just make plugins and make money out of that, no? Yung mga you buy in Chrome Store or
Right.
Firefox Store, etc. No?
Web extensions. Right?
Web extensions, they actually make quite a few money, right? So
Mm.
maybe more of us from the Philippines will make that na.
Yeah, I think that's an angle that I haven't really thought of. That talent would be cheaper than buying enterprise subscriptions on AI models. Yeah. So next question.
For the next question is it's about the job market.
Mm.
Are junior devs obsolete or cook per se?
I think that's the same question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Introducing Agora's conversational AI engine. Build and integrate your AI agent in minutes. Any model, any voice. Start building your voice AI agent for free today.
Connecting to that is, many senior developers are working remotely for foreign companies.
Yes.
How are you positioning like the local companies in the Philippines to attract and retain top local talents against high-paying international office?
That's always a pull and push. No?
Mm.
Because yes, there is always that more remote work is available, and so some developers, of course, will be more attuned or will find that more appealing, right?
Mm.
Whether it be Australia, US, or Europe, and we see a lot of BPO is not just call centers, but there's actually developers and operations here, and I've experienced that myself. In terms of local companies, right? It is really a challenge for them, to be frank. And so I think it will be more about culture, maybe integration of their work-life balance,
Yeah.
right? Maybe more hubs outside Metro Manila where, it's a hub where that culture fits in a sense, like, hey, okay, work now, but at evening, go to the beach or something like that, right? So maybe towards that. But we also have local companies that are part of bigger companies, right, or global companies that also fits them as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, everyone is talking about agentic AI. So, in your case, are you actually using this in your workspace or in the company?
So, you have to understand what agentic AI is, right? So it's like a person. You're putting a person out there. So currently, since I don't have a company, so I'm not using agentic AI per se. What you want agentic AI is basically like a 24/7 person that's available, or at least a long series of tasks, like a frontier agent, always running. Is it cheaper? I haven't done the mathematics or the cost analysis to see if an agentic AI is cheaper than an actual person doing it. But with all tools, including AI, there will be a time, I think, the economies of scale will catch up. As more people have that level of agentic AI versus a specific set of person, it could just be also, instead of cost, it could also be, and partially cost, it also availability. maybe that agentic AI is so good, and even if it's the same cost as a person, because you need to scale up, you cannot find the same person multiple times.
Yeah.
Right? So instead, you want to get the agentic AI, because it's a computer, so they can have multiple instances of that AI running at a time. No? So it might not just be cost, but also scale of size. That is where agentic AI will come more into play.
Yeah, I think adding up to that, if you would compare agentic AI versus actual talents, do you I just thought of it right now. Do you compare the hallucinations of it? So yeah, agentic AI might have chances of hallucinations, but
Yeah.
I think there's also room for human error.
Yeah. I don't. Whether it's agentic AI doing the hallucination or the humans doing error, I'm not that concerned about that. Again, it's about
Yeah.
scale, no? Can I get the same quality of person multiple times, or can I just deploy the same agentic AI multiple times? That could be it at a scale, right? But if you're smaller scale, you might not need that many or even an agentic AI, because that agentic AI is not flexible. That's why we have a lot of VAs, executive
Yeah.
assistants, because they're very flexible. If you have a agentic EA, maybe it's only able to do a certain set of
Yeah.
things, but your business or you as a person, you need some sort of changes in a while, or maybe one-off asks. So
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
agentic AI won't be able to do that. So
Yeah.
agentic AI really for me is for larger, or at least those that want to achieve scale.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, with that in mind po, what is it again? What makes a student stand out? Like, the student with using like their purely technical skills stand out more than the student with more experience with using AI to efficiently like
Develop.
develop systems.
Now, in your question, what makes a student stand out is the student itself, not the because how would I know if you did it without AI or with AI, right? So you have to sell yourself to some extent. It's actually the output, not the tool, that is what makes a student stand out, right? So for example, that person also will stand out if, aside from him selling himself, other people sell him for her. So example, hey, you have this person is always talked about by other people. That's even better in a positive way, no? In a positive way, of course.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we have more time, but how do fresh graduates actually get get hired, or students get hired from a tech company standpoint?
Apply. That's
Of
what.
course, yeah.
Apply.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. If in the meantime, if you're not yet hired, okay, don't just wait. You'll get back to. In the meantime, for example, sure, make small projects, compile the items that you have
Yeah.
been applying to. Follow up also. Sometimes you really want to follow up with your application, right? Practice while waiting. No, practice. Don't, especially if you're really don't be idle. In other words.
Yeah. So after I get hired, how do I get promoted?
That's
Yeah.
a different story. You just got hired and you want to be promoted
Yeah.
immediately, no? There are certain techniques for that. One of the things is like over deliver, right? But ideally, of course, don't burn yourself out either. Right? So you try to produce more than ask, but don't burn yourself out. Be flexible. Volunteer for things to if you can present things, do that, etc. But ultimately, I guess not everyone also wants to be promoted. By the way,
Oh.
right? You also sometimes more promotions also means more
More
responsibility,
responsibility.
More work.
more work, etc. Maybe your first few promotions, yes, you'll be exciting, but at one point, you have to assess: do you really want to be promoted, or you're happy as where you are? Instead of going up, maybe the career is what they call like horizontal, different projects or different department involvement, etc. Instead of going up.
Yeah, adding up to that, how about you? What threshold do you hold for yourself about getting promoted, or maybe you want more work-life balance for yourself?
Depends, I guess, on the age at one point. For me, I don't know. To be frank, I don't know if I want to be. I'm open to it, like vertically. I've mentioned this in several times. Na I've been C-level for different positions, like operations, product a bit, T a bit. The only thing that I haven't tried is the E. No, it's a CEO, but I'm not sure if that's something
You want to do?
I want to do either, right? Because that involves maybe a lot of sales component. If operations may be easier for me, but sales component not my niche, no?
Yeah.
So, and also again, as I age, I also wanna retire. so, so I just have to balance that. To be
Yeah.
frank, I don't know the answer.
Mhm.
As long as my hierarchy of needs is fulfilled, I'm able to enjoy myself, I'm able to pay my bills, right? And I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think for me, that really is a good advice, since right now when I don't have a job, I try to do as much as possible. So I'm trying to lead a club, build a startup, join multiple communities. I'm very hungry. When I see an empty calendar on an empty date on my calendar, I go. I probably underwork. I'm underworking myself. So that's something I haven't thought of. That as long as my hierarchy of needs are met, which they are, yeah. So I'm living very comfortably right now. But yeah, I think that's a good advice that I should put into myself, that maybe I may be overworking myself. Yeah. Now let's shift the perspective, and for you, let's say you would time travel and you would go back to your first year of college. What tech stack or skills would you go study and devour?
Right. So for this final question, no, that question, actually, I'm not the best person to ask that, because I don't have that parang, oy, sana ginawa ko to. Because logically, I'm not able to do that anymore. No, I cannot go back in time. Maybe jokingly, the only thing I would really say na parang sana ginawa ko to is parang bumili ng Bitcoin at the time, right?
Yeah.
True. Parang, oy, napaka life changer nun, sana no. But everything else, I'm okay. I don't dwell on it. Na, yeah. Could this have happened? Ganyan.
Yeah.
Could have it gone all the way? Walang ganun na for me, kasi it's not feasible,
yeah.
no? But so I'll change the question, no? If I was if my advice for students na lang, right, is number one, I really like what other people say is not necessarily build in public, but at least make sure your projects are in completion. Meaning, even if it's small projects, put it out there.
Proof of
You
work.
know,
Yeah.
host it in, if you're a game dev, maybe host it in one of those free sites, yung mga HTML free sites. So it's out there. You know, people can try it out. You can show it later on your resume. Parang, hey, go to this site. It's available there, even if hindi siya magandang domain, right? Because it's a so publish in public. That's what I would say. Publish in public. In terms of skill set also, I would say until now, after 20 years, SQL, the query language, is still very important in data science, in data engineering,
Cybersecurity.
SQL, select query language. No?
It's very useful for cybersecurity as well.
Yeah, because you're gathering data and everything, no? Now we have like the Apache Iceberg, which is the S3 tables. Data will be there, gathered, and needs to be collected and inserted. So, whether it be, even if you have NoSQL, databases, a lot of times, I see people transmuting that to a SQL, because NoSQL is actually quite hard to read and optimize. Right? So, SQL, try to master that as early as possible if you can.
Yeah. So last point is, students are watching right now. Give your point of advice.
That was my point of advice.
Ay, sorry. I mean, other than upskilling, what are some things you could tell them?
Number one is please follow KakaComputer.
Yun.
Which is sponsored by Agora. Thank
Mhm.
you, Agora. And also just enjoy. Make sure you enjoy the journey. No? Don't rush yourself too much if not necessary. But again, find your enjoyment in the path, in the learning.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to our sponsors, Agora, Tutorials Dojo, Young CTO, Amazon Web Services User Group Philippines, and Facebook subscribers. On to our next episode.